Hi, everyone. I'm Isaac Sacolick. I'm the president of StarCIO and the author of the book, Driving Digital. And I'm excited here today to talk about a very important topic. We're all trying to become data-driven. We're all trying to gain intelligence and use machine learning to strategic advantage. But underneath all of that is the data and the quality of the data and our operations to ensure that data is available and reliable. I'm here today with Krishna Tammana. Did I get that right? Krishna Tammana.
Yes.
He is the CTO of Talend. And we're going to talk today about data health, which is a really interesting way of looking at the entire ecosystem of what makes data available for all the downstream activity that we need to create for our organization. So Krishna, I want to start with that. Why data health? Why did you coin the term data health, and what encompasses that?
Isaac, first, thank you for having me. I am excited to be here with you. Data health is our vision for how companies have to become data-driven. It is a complex process. Just bringing a lot of data together is not sufficient. The mechanics itself are occupying all our time today. And to really become data-driven, we believe that customers have to go through a data journey. We start with data quality, but just doing the quality aspects of dealing with the quality aspects of data only gets us so far. Then you have to establish trust in your data. So if you're looking at a data set, you want to make sure that data set is not only of quality from a mechanical perspective of cleaning the data and merging the data, but also it can be trusted. And that happens in a mechanism, through a mechanism we call trust score. It's 5 different dimensions we use to assess the trust score and provide that to our customers. But that also is a one-time thing. But what we really need to do to get to a healthy state, to be data-driven, is to assess your trust score on a continuous basis on all your data. But you'll need the best practices to do that on a continuous basis, because it's not sufficient to do it one time. Data is constantly changing, and you're getting new data all the time. So you need an entire mechanism to get to a point where you know your data is healthy on an ongoing basis. It's almost like having a data operations center. Much like your security and network operations center, what you need is a data operations center which can help you monitor your data health. That's how we think about data health, to be fully data-driven as an organization.
Krishna, that's great. I'm thinking of your answer in like several levels, from data quality, which I think people understand in the negative sense. They see bad data quality. They don't necessarily understand what good data quality is, but they want to be able to come in every morning and see the paper at the front doorstep and know that the journalism is reliable. And that's when we start getting into data health, which is not just the quality aspect, but the reliability aspects of the timeliness of it. Then we start getting into the underlying operations to ensure that, and I love your analogies with SOCs and NOCs that have the responsibility of a certain service level objective around performance, and I assume we're going to do the same thing around our data health. This leads to a question that always, I hear a lot of terms around, CIOs and chief data officers, data ops, data stewards. So tell me, from Talend's perspective, on the roles and responsibilities when improving data health. I hear many data governance leaders just struggling to identify and assign responsibilities just to data owners. So how do you express, when you bring in talent into an organization, who is doing what?
So in some ways, it depends on the size of the organization. For an organization with any complexity and any size, you need multiple roles, because data is being produced in many departments, many applications, and many locations. So you need a way to have a good understanding of where all your data is. And if you're powering analytics and other operations through that data, you have to bring it together. The act of bringing that data together to a central location, making it seamless from across different applications by correcting the semantics or having unified semantics is the first step. Even to do that, you have to have the knowledge of data from all the different sources. That in itself is a task. So that's where your data literacy aspects begin to come in. So you need the curation of that knowledge. Often data catalogs are used for that purpose. And as part of that, there is some governance established to bring them together and make them unified in a manner that everybody else can understand what each data element means. So that's just the first step. But as you're making that journey, you will find data quality issues and trust issues. That's when you bring your data stewards into the picture. Now, depending on the company, there is either a separate steward role or other people are wearing the hats of a steward, but performing that task. Now, the interesting part here is to make sure that you bring the right people with the right knowledge to bear. Often what happens is we have data analysts that are trying to gather data from many different sources that are producing the data to curate that. That process has to become much better. And that's the process that is part of your governance. That's the part of improving data quality. That's where data stewards come into picture. Now, to do this kind of a task at scale, you're seeing the trend where a lot of companies are creating the roles of chief data officers. That's where the CTOs fit in. And because it's a complex enough job, and because it is an important part of an organization, the CTO role has been elevated to such a high level. And I think it's a very, very critical role that I see as something that we need as an industry going forward. And it's only expanding. This is not that new. But the CTOs, data stewards, and in many ways, all the knowledge workers who have the right knowledge about all the data, they have to come together to really create the notion of a doc or data operations center where you can understand the health of your data end to end.
Krishna, it's interesting because I've been doing data work for almost 2 decades. And the traditional problem I used to see is, we had our subject matter experts that really understood the data and really understood the value and how it was going to be used. And then you had hands-on technologists that could, automate an ETL or a data pipeline that could instrument some data quality rules in a platform. But there was this middle responsibility of, who's going to leverage the expertise of the subject matter experts and actually implement things, actually go in and fix things. And what would end up happening is the subject matter experts ended up doing it themselves, but they only knew how to use the tools that they knew how to use, which were largely things like Excel and SQL. And so they would pull data out of systems. They would go do a lot of manipulations of that data outside of that system. Sometimes that became a derivative data source. And other times they would start moving that data back in. And so they became data in the middle people. Yeah. So big problem, especially when you're doing it at scale. And I'm wondering if we could talk about this in the focus of one particular problem. Everybody has customer data, right? And this notion of creating a 360-degree view of customer data is been around for a long period of time. We've been dreaming about it. I think for some companies, it's a reality. And some companies are just starting to explore it. And you'll hear different versions of how to go about doing it. The CRM vendor is going to say, we have a built-in data lake. Put all of your event streams into your CRM, move and aggregate all of your CRM customer data into the CRM, and you get one place where everything is happening. And you have others who are going to go look at a specific platform for data management of customer data. They'll go look at CDPs, customer data platforms, and then IT and maybe the CDO, they probably look at this more broadly, right? They have more than just customer data. They have product data, they have stream data, they have systems data. They want an overall system that handles data health, right? And then use it for different applications. So how should this play out? How should the discussion play out in terms of what platforms and solutions companies should look at?
So let's step back and look at what the evolution is so far and where we see going. You brought up an interesting topic of the two ends of the spectrum with a lot of gap in the middle. I think that's a key and important problem to tackle for us as an industry. I think that's where a lot of room for innovation is. You touched on different interesting topics there. One is related to the knowledge that the subject matter experts are bringing. How do you curate that instead of letting that become another source of information and then more bespoke situations created? I think this is where the evolution is going to be, to enable these knowledge workers to participate in the data journey seamlessly, as opposed to creating silos like that. So what I see happening is that the products that help with the curation becoming simpler and simpler to allow these knowledge workers to actually participate. In our vision, we just call that self-service very broadly, but to bring, just take an example of curating a catalog.
Mm-hmm.
The people who know how to do this have to be brought to the table and that requires the products to be made really easy to use for everybody and cannot be targeted only for IT users. I think in general, IT will become more of an enabler as opposed to having to solve every problem one ticket at a time. I think that's just the future. With static budgets in IT and the workloads increasing and the data volumes exploding, we have the opportunity to make them more powerful by enabling other people in the organization to participate in the data journey. That's one piece. And that's, well, again, data quality, data trust, literacy through curation. All of these aspects will require enablement of non-IT users to participate in the data journey. Now, coming to Customer 360 as an example, and data curation at the enterprise level broadly, I think the models of centralized CRM vendors doing one piece of the task, but also trying to build a lake to solve certain problems, I think that those models will exist and it'll serve a certain segment of the market. I see that as a possible way of solving certain class of problems. But if you think of multi-cloud future and tremendous amount of data sources, including IoT and all the new devices that are generating this much data, the evolution of this from a data collection standpoint into some data lake is going to happen. That's not really an option. I see more of a central data lakes being created by the CDOs and feeding all the data into that, and then running the operations through it, whether it's analytics or driving business operations. I see that as a way that we can bring this multi-cloud environment into a place where we can power this type of analytics. When it comes to Customer 360, there are many, many aspects to it. I mean, for instance, one of our customers, Globe Telecom, based in Philippines, they're one of the biggest telco vendors there. They have made it part of their process to improve the quality on a continuous basis to make sure they feed their 360, Customer 360, with very high quality data. And that has resulted in tremendous improvements in their results in the 360 function. I think including data management, data health, and data quality in your 360 process is going to make a big difference in how effective you are for your business.
Krishna, you covered a lot of other topics there that interest me too. I mean, what you're saying about the CDP is really important. I mean, just being able to have quality data into the CDP as a starting point, you need a good, strong toolkit to be able to do that. You need a set of tools that really expand the universe of people in the organization that can work with data, that can do things efficiently. And I think that's really the story around data health, is really expanding the universe of getting more people involved with it. And what that does for the CDO and for the CIO is there's always an emerging layer. IoT is still a little bit of emerging layer. Mm-hmm. Certain aspects of real time are emerging layers. Handling very wide data sets for machine learning, that's an emerging area. And I was a customer of Talend, I think 10, maybe 15 years ago. I'm still a customer of Talend for my own company. And, the things that we need to do with data are constantly expanding, and we need good versatile tools to do this. So I'm going to bring this down into a much, much lower level. This is a problem that I see organizations facing. And the reason I picked this problem is that it tends to create a debate and a stalemate, right? You have existing data coming in from an existing data source. It's going through a set of steps. It's ending up in a data warehouse or a data lake. And now data quality and data health, both data quality and data health issues are being sought out. And you have one group that says, let's go use Talend to go fix the data issues. You have another group that says, let's go fix the data at the source, put all the right data validation rules in place. Let's remodernize all the applications and all the streams that get data from point A all the way to the end. And then we'll have perfect data. What's the right way to think about this?
I think that's a very interesting question, but it's also a complex one. And it varies significantly based on the scale. If you're a small organization with small data sets, and then the approach of fixing data at the source is actually viable, practical, and probably the right thing to do if you can do it. But once you have a large enough organization with complex enough applications, then it just becomes a little bit of a challenge to go fix the source, because it's a very time-consuming problem, and the engineering teams and the product teams that have to go fix the data at source or create this seamless way of operations by talking to other departments, it becomes a combination of a technology and a business problem. So that itself, the physics of actually making that change are not trivial. So I think it's going to take source. It's a worthwhile goal to pursue, but it's not something that you can quickly get answers to at any level of complexity. So that leaves us these two options. Should we fix data on the way to the warehouse, or should we fix it after? Those are the two options. In this world, we just call them ETL or ELT. But the way I see it, and from a Talend perspective, we don't really care. We would like to support both models. Having said that, I'll tell you what might be useful. I think the future is going to be a combination of both. There is a certain amount of data that you move that you know how you're going to use, exactly how it should be, etc. In which case, you can make the data better before moving into the warehouse. But there are other scenarios where you would rather move the data fast and let the different constituent users decide how they want to use the data. So what you're doing really is improving the speed with which you deliver the data, but the quality, all the work you have to do to make meaning out of the data is to be done later. That serves certain scenarios. So for example, if you're doing a marketing campaign, you can deliver the data, and the quality requirements and the accuracy requirements are different than when you're serving a financial reporting purpose. So you can make choices on what work you do before and what work you do later. A simple scenario may be, I want to move the data, but there are 3 or 4 data elements that are highly sensitive that I want to hide. So I would like to process that before in an ETL manner and deliver the rest to the warehouse, and let the other constituent users use that data and do the manipulation and transformation afterwards in an ELT manner. So I see this as a future where you can have both. I call it ETLT. basically.
I love that answer because it feeds into something I advise clients on, which is the worst answer to this question is doing nothing, right? Is to sit there and debate and not actually start something. And the second thing that I tell customers and clients and people I advise is, implementing pipelines, implementing data quality, and doing it and hard coding it in code is also a problem because we tend to think of these as pipes, and in houses we don't really change the pipes very much. But in data, we have to change the pipes all the time.
All the time, yes.
Right? We built it as an ETL. It's doing 3 steps, but now we want it as an ELT. I should be able to pick those 3 steps up, move it into a different form factor, not change any of the logic, and continue moving. I might have 3 people who have built a way of processing invoices 5 years ago that now needs to get updated, and those people are gone. And I need a visual programming language that makes this easy to understand what's happening, what's the steps, what's the validation logic, what's the exception interfaces that are in place to handle when things don't come in the format that you're expecting. And all of that is coming in through a platform around data health. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you also brought something up that you have to remember that there are some business processes that deal with data that are ongoing in an enterprise, and there are some that are one-time or less frequent. So by delivering the data faster and letting constituent users serve themselves is a way of self-service, enabling self-service for the IT department. So you can pick and choose which ones you're going to use as ETL, which ones you use use the ELT techniques for. But I think one thing we cannot forget is the techniques don't change the fact that we need healthier data.
Absolutely.
That's the part that we cannot forget while dealing with the mechanics. You still have to make the data quality better. You have to create trust in the data, and you have to do that on an ongoing basis to maintain a healthy data to support a data-driven business.
Yeah, so you bring up an interesting point there. I'm interested in your perspective, Talend's perspective of industries that are starting to break out and really becoming and using data as a strategic advantage. I mean, I used to see data technologies only in financial services, only in insurance. And now today I see it, well, for the last 10 years, at least in media and entertainment and retail, any B2C business that really needs to understand what's happening on their website. They obviously care a lot about data. But now I work in construction and manufacturing, and they're doing a lot of things with data that they've never done before. So who's trying to solve interesting things here with the technologies that you provide them?
We have customers that are doing really fascinating thing. We have Wire Medical that is using data in ways we never imagined. Of course, as tools vendors and vendors who provide solutions to data problems, we always are surprised by the creativity of our customers. Wire Medical is just one example. We have L'Oreal and P3 and Globe Telecom all doing very interesting and different things, but they are all in different sectors of the business, as you know. Some are related to Customer 360. And some are related to optimizing their business processes, things that we had never imagined or thought of. But all of these have a couple of things in common, which is collecting data from disparate sources that we have never done before to have much deeper insights. If you are a B2C customer, or if you have some physical stores and online stores, combining data from all those channels, including IoT data that you collect from your stores, is going to give you the power to do customer 360 like you've never done before. And that's what we are seeing in our customer base.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting example. I mean, what I'm telling folks is that companies have to rewrite customer experience for the next 2 to 3 years. We've sort of had to deal with customer 360 in terms of and customer experiences from the lens of COVID for the last year and a half. and our expectations and our needs have changed. And then if you're in retail, Amazon talking about opening stores now, right? There's going to be a new set of expectations about this digital physical world. And I think people are ready for it, right? People have been ordering on digital catalog now for 2 years. They want to get it out of their houses. They want to go do things, but they're not going to go back to the old ways of work of buying or shopping.
I agree. As difficult as COVID has been, one of the things that we're seeing in our business and all digital businesses is the growth towards digital and the speed with which the transformations that were already contemplated have been moved. So the acceleration is very real, and we're seeing that as well.
Yep. So let's bring in the last faction here. We haven't really talked about data science and machine learning, and there's a couple nuances here I want you to go into. First is the entire machine learning built into the data health platforms, right? What can you use it for? What is it doing to simplify some of the work that you're doing? And the other side of it is data scientists as a consumer. Right, you talk about ELTs, in terms of data processing. Right. What do data scientists need from a data health platform?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In terms of leveraging technology like ML and the entire realm of data quality and data trust will benefit from. Today, for example, the number of things that we identify using our products in terms of data quality issues, just the detection of it and correction of it, is primarily more statistical analysis based. But with machine learning, we will be able to do so much more in terms of detecting not just simple rule-based data quality issues, but pattern-based issues that are hard to detect by humans when we have large sets of data. I think I call it DQ with IQ. It's data quality with intelligence, is basically a way of using and leveraging machine learning type technologies to find more data quality issues easier, and then also making suggestions on how to correct those. Now, when you're looking at data from a pattern perspective and you constantly learn what patterns are normal and what's abnormal, you are able to help a user see issues that were difficult to see before. That's one piece of it. And then also the correction side, once the system gets trained, you can just say that if you see this pattern, automatically make this correction. Those things will make a big difference. So in many ways, we have a tagline at Talend called "Take the work out of working with data," which is basically saying, make it easier for our customers to work with data. This is basically a way of reducing the amount of work they have to do to improve the quality of data and then establish the trust. They all leverage machine learning algorithms. Now, when it comes to helping data science, if you think of the problems there, it's very well established that data science, the first part of data science is all about collecting the data and getting the data into the right shape and to the right quality. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out. So right. The amount of time data scientists spend on correcting data is so high. Depending on who you ask, it's 60 to 80% of their time, which is crazy, I think. Using products like Talend that can help you prepare the data and bring it to a good shape before you can apply your data science algorithms to do whatever business problem, or address whatever business problem you're addressing, that's our opportunity. Feature engineering, for example, is something that we believe we can play a big role in and helping customers doing feature extraction and just all the feature engineering aspects of it. All of this has to do with data, and that's how I see us as an industry, and Talend in particular as a company can help this new segment that is struggling to deal with data.
No, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, that's 60 to 80% is consistent. It's reported by a number of different sources, and part of the issue is backpedaling their way through data quality issues. They want to use some data and just need some basic cleansing. Part of it is they're ahead of the curve in their organization and sourcing and using new data sets.
That's right.
So now they're self-serving, the ability to bring those in, analyze them, fix those data quality issues, join and aggregate them. And then they start getting into the feature extractions, right? And the early segmentations and the early analysis. And I haven't built a model yet. I'm just trying to understand what I'm working with and what I need.
Right. That's right.
And so I remind the CIO in particular, data scientists are the product managers here, or stakeholders. They have a vested interest in your pipelines and the reliability and the health of the data coming out of it. They're also end users, right? That should be serviced through these toolings so that they can become more efficient. Look at how much time they're spending on wrangling, and look at different ways of improving data health with it. And then look at the offensive side. Can they build better, more reliable, more sustainable models by having these tools in place for them to use?
100%. I think in many ways, as you said, the data science as a field itself is kind of the tip of the spear in dealing with data as soon as it comes and using a self-service model to tackle that, except they're having a lot of difficulty doing that. I think we can help there. And we'll see more and more of this in other aspects of the business as well, because we have to enable people to be self-sufficient.
That's right. Krishna, we're coming up to the end of our time together. Is there an area I haven't covered that you want to talk about?
I think you touched most of the interesting areas that we talked, but the only other piece I would think of is the data integration space and data management space. While traditionally being thought of as supporting reporting and analytics, is also evolving into supporting more business operations in real time. I think there's a tremendous opportunity to help businesses monitor their operations in real time using the data and analytics that products like Talend help manage. That's the only area.
I think that's a great way to encourage people that go look at what's going on in your business operations, not just operations. I think my first use case of using Talend was in marketing. Lots of data over there moving around, very difficult job for marketers to discern leads and to do lead processing,
right.
And a great place to continue to put new data sources in place. So, marketing, I think, is a very interesting place. And then you brought up real time, and I talk about real time all the time. And it's because we sort of built our data processing 10, 20 years ago on the notion of batch, right?
Exactly.
We built it up knowing that we had fixed computing power. And if we were running large data sets in the middle of the day, everything would slow down. So we used and built batch processing to run overnight. And of course, now we have cloud. We have the ability to scale things up and down. Right. And there's strategic advantages to look for data in real time. There's anomalies. There's real-time conditions that you want to look for. It doesn't necessarily mean you have somebody looking at it every single minute of the day. But if you're getting an alert on your smartwatch that there's a problem to go look at in your business operation, I think you want to know that.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So that's the only other piece I wanted to bring to the conversation, but that could be a whole topic in itself.
Krishna, it's great talking to you. Thank you for your time today. Again, this is Isaac Sacolick. I'm the president of StarCIO, here with an interview of Krishna Tammana, CTO of Talend, a corporation providing data health solutions. And like I said, every organization needs to become more efficient, smarter, and versatile with data and technology. And we talked a lot about the different ways to do that here today. Thank you, Krishna.
Thanks for having me, Isaac.